What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's been causing so much volatility over this last little bit and where I see things going from here. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, NIO did go down 5.26%, a fair amount of volume. So 54.6 million shares being traded, 55.2 is the average. Despite this looking fairly good, a lot of the volume being done today is algorithmic trading. And you can kind of confirm that by looking at this. So only 2 transactions above $100,000 did occur on the secondary market. So big money not really getting into NIO today, and a lot of algorithmic trading was adding a lot of downward pressure because most likely this. So Morgan Stanley warns against chasing China stock rally as rebound may stall. Talks on technicals and just not really on a quantitative standpoint justified uptrend. So in my opinion, this is just complete BS, but then again, what do I know, right? I'm not a financial advisor. As I've been saying for a long time, NIO is among the most discounted EVs out there. But once again, as what Morgan Stanley and just America thinks, just China likes to fudge their numbers. It's kind of crazy to think of, but this obviously was one of the main factors why algorithmic trading was adding so much downward pressure. So again, that's something to kind of consider. There was no actual news, no SEC filings at all to really justify today's downtrend. You also had shorts taking advantage of the kind of bearishness on NIO over this last little bit. So shorts did increase 1.16 million shares today. 13.96% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 190.35 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost of borrow average 1.64, and then utilization is 86.71. As a grand total of the 190 million shares being shorted, there is about $1.04 billion worth out there. Fairly high stuff in my opinion. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But moving on, let's talk on some data points and everything else. Starting off with some of the recent analyst ratings. So I did get a comment in my last video. I guess I went through this a little bit too fast. So the last one was done 15 days ago, $4.10 price target, Goldman Sachs, Tina, who does have a 27% success rating. So again, you can pause the video, go through it, but there hasn't been any recent ratings as of late. And in my opinion, based on the numbers that they just put out, I would have anticipated a lot more analysts to be bullish on NIO behind the scenes, but we've seen absolutely nothing. So we'll just have to wait and see. Latest Morningstar report does show the fair market value being $9.10, and that is based off of NIO's assets. So once again, as I've been saying, NIO is at a pretty substantial discount, and even if you put it in relation to Rivian, their multiple, NIO can easily 2x, 3x, and it'd be kind of at the same multiple as Rivian. So it goes to show how damaging the whole China aspect is. So the fact that Morgan Stanley comes out is kind of just like cutting an open wound. It just makes things so much more worse. So that's been really affecting NIO today, and we'll see what happens over the next couple of days. But moving on, looking at options, 2.49 million in calls, 4.52 million in puts. Sentiment-wise, very evenly divided. So 37% of all the options being done today were bullish, but very evenly divided between neutral and bearish. Of the call options that are being purchased, you do see a consensus for it to be above $6 by the end of next week. So a little bit more of optimism associated to that. And then looking at puts, you do see a consensus for it to be below $5. So risk versus rewards, it seems to be very much in favor of a nice continuation of a rally, because keep in mind, one big thing that caused NIO to go down was the technicals. So it did bounce off of this 100-day moving average, as you can kind of see right here. So we are still somewhat in consolidation. I feel like yesterday it would have counted as consolidation. Today it did go down extra hard because, like I said, with Morgan Stanley, but I'll touch on all this in a second. Moving on right now with it at $5.22, just between this R2 and this R1. So this $5.10, so this R2 was the saving grace for NIO. So they did bounce off of that general area because 511 was the low and then 528 was the high. So a lot of volatility, but we do know this R2 is diamond hands. So very strong support in my opinion. And then aside from that, $5.55 is going to be the next strong resistance point. So in reality, just watch for this R2 to continue to hold in the next couple of days. And then aside from that though, you do also see around $5 or about $4.90 being that 50-day moving average. So once again, that's also going to be another support level that you can kind of count on in NIO's case. So most likely I do anticipate what will come in the next couple days, it bouncing off of this 50-day moving average and hopefully retesting this 100 in at least the next, probably by Friday in my opinion. Plus, on a side note, if it does get close to that $5 range, similar to last week, you might see it being artificially pushed down by market makers and shorts below that $5 strike price. That way they don't have to go to the open market to buy anything. Manipulation at its finest as usual, but that happens quite a lot in the market. So again, something to kind of consider. Just watch for the open interest on the call options. Always a very good telltale sign of what might be coming. On the actual chart itself, you do see a bearish deviation. So on stochastics, a red line above the white as well, you do see it at 81. So in theory, it is considered somewhat overbought, but usually during corrections, it's okay to stay in overbought status for a long time period, but the first sign of legitimate weakness, you will see a pullback. But in my opinion, I wouldn't really count what came out from Morgan Stanley as legitimate. It more so has to come from the company itself. So I kind of see this as more of an overreaction, but then again, I could be wrong. Number of retail investors have been getting out for the last couple of days ever since May the 6th. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with NIO? Like I said, I do anticipate it to touch this 50-day moving average and then bouncing higher. So there might be a little bit more downside, at least in the short term, but long term, I think NIO has done absolutely phenomenal, bouncing off of these lows right here. So let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, if you are looking for all of this information, such as latest Morningstar reports, latest analyst ratings, everything under the sun, take a look at Interactive Brokers for all of this information to be completely free. So link in the description below and also the comments. So take advantage of that. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.